Melanie Rose, Speech 205, Persuasive Speech. Since 1998, scientists have been frantically working on a life-changing breakthrough in medical science by creating and using stem cells in labs all across the globe. Imagine if someday in the very near future that people will no longer have to worry about losing friends and loved ones in an illness or injury that claim the lives of thousands of patients every year. Stem cell research is currently on the forefront of scientific research today and one of the most popular and controversial topics in medical technology. This is due to the fact of how stem cells are created and how they are used. The research and use of embryonic stem cells should be completely stopped, deemed illegal because it is inhumane and immoral and unethical. Adult stem cells, cord blood stem cells, and amniotic fluid stem cells should be used as alternative sources instead and are perfectly capable of saving just as many lives. So what are stem cells and how are they used? Basically, they're the map of the human body and all of its functions. They are microscopic structures that make up human skin, muscles, bones, nerves, and the internal organs. Some stem cells have the ability to generate an entire body part, such as an arm or a leg, and they are used today to help treat patients with paralysis due to spinal cord injury, diabetes, Parkinson's, muscular dystrophy, cancer, heart disease, and blindness. There are 4 main types of stem cells used in research today, and they are embryonic stem cells, adult stem cells, cord blood stem cells, and amniotic fluid stem cells. So why are embryonic stem cells considered to be so controversial? Basically, human embryos are created only to be harvested for providing stem cells, and they are then destroyed. Scientists intervene with human development once an egg has been fertilized by a sperm and begins to divide repeatedly. It is during this stage of human development and growth were to continue on its own, the fertilized egg, or a blastocyst, would go on to develop into a living and breathing human fetus. Once scientists isolate and collect the formed cells, the human embryo cannot survive without them, thus terminating what would have been a human life. So what if there were ways to obtain stem cells without using human embryos? Scientists have discovered three methods to successfully achieve this, and the first method I'll explain to you today is through the use of adult stem cells. So what are adult stem cells, you ask? They are an undifferentiated cell found among a differentiated cell in a tissue or an organ. They can renew themselves and morph into the major specialized types of that tissue. Their primary roles are to maintain and repair the tissue in which they are found. Adult stem cells routinely treat more than 80 diseases today, and a person is able to use his or her own stem cells. Doing so eliminates the issues of rejection, disease transmission, chromosomal abnormalities, and uncontrolled growth. And according to Michael Fomento, an associate at the Competitive Enterprise Institute and a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, quote, adult stem cell research is currently having more real breakthroughs and treating more diseases than embryonic stem cell research. The Department of Anatomy and Cell Biology at the Wayne State University School of Medicine in Detroit performed a clinical trial using adult and embryonic stem cells to help treat patients with Parkinson's. Dr. Jean Peduzzi Nelson, a professor at the School of Medicine and the leader of these clinical trials, found that, quote, muscle deterioration occurred in just 1 year after treatment in 15% of the patients who were given embryonic stem cells. And this is opposed to the 85% of patients who did not have any muscle deterioration and were given adult stem cells. Also, doctors and scientists are teaming up today to help treat patients with a history of heart attack or heart failure with stem cells that are derived from their own bone marrow. The second alternative to embryonic stem cells that scientists have discovered are called cord blood stem cells. So what are cord blood stem cells and how are they used? Cord blood stem cells reside in blood produced from the placenta and the umbilical cord attached to the fetus. At the time of the baby's birth, a sample of blood is taken once the umbilical cord has been cut. It is then taken to the lab for processing and frozen for storage. They possess the ability to repair nerve tissue, skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, connective tissue, and endocrine cells. Cord blood stem cells have the same potential to treat diseases just as effective as with embryonic stem cells, but without all of the unsafe side effects which may occur later on. And cord blood is a wonderful source for obtaining stem cells because there will never be a shortage of supply. And according to an interview with Dr. Peter Hollins, Chief Science Officer for the United Kingdom Cord Blood Bank, quote, cord blood stem cells have currently been transplanted just over 6,000 times worldwide with the treatment of 45 different diseases. And in 2007, research scientists discovered a third alternative method to obtaining stem cells. This is a newer way of collecting and producing stem cells through the use of amniotic fluid called amniotic fluid stem cells. So how is this even possible and how do they work? Amniotic fluid stem cells are stem cells that are found in the placenta and in the fluid that surrounds a human fetus. They are similar to embryonic stem cells in that they too have the potential to multiply and transform into all different types of cells and tissues. They are obtained through amniocentesis, which is a very common, very routine procedure that many pregnant women undergo today to have their babies checked for chromosomal abnormalities. Amniotic fluid stem cells may possibly be the bridge to the divide and the debate over embryonic stem cells because according to Dr. Anthony Atala, a tissue engineering specialist at Wake Forest University, quote, these cells are neither embryonic nor adult, they're somewhere in between. Stem cells were obtained from 19 pregnant women, and test results showed that scientists were successful in creating nerve, liver, and endothelial cells, or skin cells. They were also successful in creating cells that would go on to form bone, muscle, and fat tissues. These muscles formed quickly, were long-lived, and functioned in the lab as they would in the human body. So why are these three methods of alternative sources not known around the globe? It's sort of a domino effect, if you will. The number one and foremost reason is due to lack of media coverage. This leads to the general public not being aware or uneducated of the subjects. And this leads to lack of general support. The less people know about these subjects, the less number of people there will be to help support them. As a result of this, there is also a lack of funding. If there is little or no support for this type of research, the labs will not have the money to do the clinical trials and experiments needed in order for breakthroughs to be made. As far as cord blood stem cells go, new parents are not collecting cord blood at the time of their baby's births. Instead, precious stem cells are merely being tossed into a trash can. And as far as amniotic fluid stem cells go, research is relatively new and there's still much yet to be discovered. So what can you do to help? Support, support, support. You guys, please, you need to support these. In order for major milestones to be crossed, more federal and private funding needs to be provided. The more people support these methods, the more funding will be granted to labs all across the globe. The controversy associated with embryonic stem cell research will most likely never dissipate unless human embryos are no longer used or until the alternative methods become the forefront in medical science today. All these different types of stem cells have the notion and ability to save the lives of our loved ones. If people everywhere would be willing to help raise awareness and educate others about these alternative sources, doing so would most likely put them on the front lines of medical advances today. So please, I ask you, help to do your part by spreading the word and raise awareness. Thank you.